Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on the video. It's 29 degrees. It's 29 degrees in the UK, which would be fine, but I'm 2 floors up, zero aircon, and I don't care what people say, the British heat is different to heat anywhere else. When I go somewhere in Europe, it's a different heat. It's not like a muggy heat. British heat it's like being in a rainforest. I can feel I'm getting upper lip sweat already. It's insane. I generally cannot deal with the British heat, but we're going to push through because the algorithm doesn't care. The algorithm doesn't care that it's hot and sweaty in the UK. It's absolutely ridiculous. I've had like 3 hours sleep. I just cannot sleep when it's so bloody hot. And the air coming through the window is like hot air. Okay, back to the video. When I do my videos, AI always says, when I do like little analysis of it, it always says, your intros are too fucking long, get to the point. So yeah, let's get to the point today. So I thought I'd leave the rage baiting for 1 week. I thought I'd go back to the advice for 1 week. And I thought I'd make a video for anyone that has never had a relationship before. And specifically what to tell boys, because I know men in the comment section would be like, just tell them, and I know some will comment that, but they don't understand what it's like. So as someone that's lived a bit of life and is just not 19 giving advice on TikTok, I thought I'd talk about how I've kind of dealt with it and the different scenarios that have happened to me when I've told someone. I think this is going to be increasingly common, and some people put in the comments to just wind me up and tell me that I'm weird for not having a relationship. And I've just had to accept that some people do think I'm weird. Some people think I'm weird and strange. And I also thought as well it was strange when I was going through some of the comments, because obviously unfortunately I can't be in the comments like I used to be. It is a shame because I used to be really active with my community, and I would literally, until maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I would pretty much reply to every comment that came through. But now I've had to put up some kind of boundaries and be like, no, I can't let all that in to me mentally. So I can't reply to all the comments. People were saying that it was acceptable these days for a boy to have not had a girlfriend. But the person in the comments, who I did block if you're watching, so hi, they said that it was acceptable for a boy to not have not had a girlfriend, but it was unacceptable for a girl to not have had a boyfriend, because it still comes back to this argument that I came across in part 4 of my trilogy series that ended up being 5 videos, that people just don't understand that a female can be single and never had a boyfriend. It's always put down as it's your choice, it's the female choice. And yeah, it obviously is a female's choice if the only people that she's getting as the options are not a reasonable offer or they're just not compatible. But people were generally saying that, oh, it's acceptable for men to have not had a relationship, that's accepted. But the consensus was that it was not acceptable for a female to have a relationship, which is completely ridiculous. You can't just apply these just blanket statements on people's lives. So I thought I'd make a little video for all my girlies who are worried about revealing that they've never had a relationship. And I think my advice is probably going to be tailored differently to the age of the person watching. I think maybe if you're 18 and you're watching and you haven't had a relationship, that is completely normal. We went through a pandemic which stunted everyone for 2 years, which stunted a lot of the Gen Z generation, and they couldn't go out and socialize. So in effect, sadly, the Gen Z generation are 2 years behind. So if you're maybe like 18 to 20, I literally wouldn't even be worried if you never had a relationship, because there are factors that happened which were completely out of your control. And if you tell someone and they act in a negative way, if you tell them, well, that person's an idiot and they're not for you. So if you're a younger person watching this, I wouldn't even be worried. I guess this video is more for the people that are slightly older, maybe in the 25 to 35 range that haven't had a relationship, and they always have to go through the daunting task of telling someone that they date that they've never had a relationship. And this has happened to me several times. So the first scenario is that you just don't tell them. If you've already had sex before and you're not a virgin and you've never had a relationship, to be honest, I would go into dating not telling a man. I just wouldn't tell him. Always leave it so it's the man asking that question. Never come up with your dating experience off the bat and offload onto a man. Leave that for him to ask you naturally in conversation. And if it does come up and you don't feel comfortable, don't tell him. It's like when men ask you about how many people you slept with. Well, it's none of their business. Don't tell them. Men do not need to know this information. The only men that are interested in this type of information are men that are insecure, men that have had little sexual experience, and they're worried that you have had more sexual experience than him. It's an ego thing. It's completely an ego thing. So you don't have to tell a man how many people you slept with. It's your business. If a man asks you about your relationship history and you don't feel comfortable telling him, then don't. You don't need to tell them over Tinder. You don't need to tell them. And this is where I sadly went wrong in my life and my dating history. I would be too open on Tinder. I would be too vocal. I would give men emotionally too much on Tinder. And then with that information, they make a decision. And they make a decision whether to go on a date with you or not. And you're giving them too much information. You're giving them too much information up front. And then they're like, oh, red flag, red flag. Just don't tell them. What I would also do as well when I was younger is I wouldn't tell a man. I'd go on a date, I'd have a fantastic time, the man would be interested, and then to fill the gap, I would just trauma dump. I would trauma dump after first date, and I'd be like, oh, the date went really well, whatever. And then I'd be like, oh, I haven't had a relationship before. I'm really insecure about it. And then what would happen? It would be too much information for the man and he'd ghost me or unblock me or not want to see me again because it was too much information too early on. And men, sadly, they see this information as a red flag. I'm only making this video because I feel that I can offer guidance and wisdom to you in this situation. And on the whole, ignore the comment section because I know what it'll be like. On the whole, men, sadly, if you haven't had a relationship before, the majority of men I've encountered treat you in a negative way. They don't see it as a positive at all. They see it as you're weird. Why have you not had a relationship? There's something wrong with you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. People's lives go at different stages. We all have different experiences through life. And sadly, some men see not having a relationship as a red flag. And there's nothing you can do about that. Some people are close-minded. Some people just watch too much TikTok, and some people can't accept that human beings live a slightly different life and maybe they haven't found that person. So that's what I would do. I would trauma dump. I would be like, oh, I haven't had a boyfriend before, blah, blah, blah. And men would invariably take it in a negative way. It wasn't really positive. Sometimes men were okay about it, neutral about it, but I always felt that it stunted the dating experience. Men were not receptive to it. And I think this is half the reason I just put it online, because I'm like, this is me, and a man knows that now. So when I do go and date people, they know, and I don't have to almost unburden myself. I felt for a long time that it was this massive secret that I was hiding. And every time I would tell a man, it would have to be over text, because if I did it in person, I would cry. So part of me thought, I have to get this information out the way. I thought, I have to get this information completely out the way so that they know and they can make a choice either way. It's how you word it. I mean, I told one man once, and typical man, he just said, well, at least no one's dumped you. that's where the man went to. Well, at least no one's dumped you before. But I just don't understand how people view people's worth in terms of how many relationships they've had. I mean, you could say if someone's had 10 relationships and they haven't worked out, you could flip that and you could say, well, there's something wrong with you because you've had 10 relationships and none of them worked. And generally, I think people that have had multiple relationships and they haven't worked, I think there has to be part of you in that that's accountable. If you've had multiple relationships and you're not married, part of that is sadly on you. So that's what I'm talking about it, because, I get people that aren't in my situation watch my videos and they get triggered. But I think in the same way, people view it negatively that I haven't had a relationship. Well, at least I haven't had 10 relationships that failed. At least in some ways, I see that as a positive. I see that as a positive that I didn't go around and have a load of placeholder boyfriends. Nobody wants a placeholder boyfriend. I think it's because even though I'm not religious, I think I generally, when I go into dating marriage minded. And that will put a lot of men off. And it did put a lot of men off in 20s and 30s because they weren't marriage minded. They just wanted to sow their wild oats. And they wanted me to be a specific type of person. They wanted me to just be the cool girl. They wanted me to be the sexy cool girl that went round the house and just had sex with them and didn't have any emotions, didn't have any problems. They wanted a complete blank, clean slate. I think that's why I probably didn't have a relationship, because I wanted more than what these men wanted. Men wanted just the good parts of me. They wanted the sexual part of me. They wanted the fun part of me. They didn't want the part of me which is a human, which has feelings, who gets scared sometimes, that gets insecure sometimes. They didn't want that part of me. They just wanted the sex robot part of me. They just wanted this AI perfect perception of me when they didn't want the actual me. I always think the more dates you go on with someone, the more receptive they are to whatever you want to tell them, because they've invested in you and they've got to know you better. So if you do say, I've never had a relationship, they're more likely to be okay with it. I find if you tell a man straight away, they're like, well, it's a no from me, it's a no from me, I'm not interested. And it's funny how men want these incredibly sexually experienced women to have a good time with. And then as soon as it comes to wifey time, they want this virginal pure woman that's had maybe 1 or 2 relationships and never had a one night stand and is just an angel pulled from the sky. It's funny how men want their cake and eat it, isn't it? It's funny how they want the sexual woman in their 20s, and then as soon as they're 30, they want this perfect woman. And then they complain that women have baggage, emotional baggage. Well, who gave the woman emotional baggage? Oh, yes, it's the men. Yes, it's the men. It's the men that gave the woman the emotional baggage that they'll sit on podcasts and deride us for, the emotional baggage of men sleeping with us and not wanting a relationship. It's funny that, isn't it? But let's explore if you don't tell them. If you don't tell them, what might happen is you don't tell them, you start dating, and then when you tell them, they'll pull away. Well, there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Like I said before, some men just have preconceived notions of women and sexuality, and some men cannot get their heads around it. It's like when you tell a man that you're a virgin when you're dating, when you're younger. I think men fall into 2 camps. Well, maybe 3, I'll say 3. The first camp is that they are weird, obsessed with virginity, obsessed with breaking you in. These weird type of men that like to be the first person that has sex with a girl because it's a weird power trip for them. And if you tell them that you're a virgin, they kind of string you along because of that, basically. Then there's the second camp. The second camp that when you tell them, they run a mile. They run a mile because they don't want to be your first, because they know if they have sex with you, then you'll get really attached to them. And the first person you have sex with, it's really strange. The first time you have sex with a man, you almost have this bond And then when it doesn't work out, it shatters all the illusions you have about sexuality, about how men treat women. And then I think from that moment on, it's almost like you do go from innocence to experience, because you kind of realize, oh, this is how men work. This is how men work. Men sadly lie to get what they want. And it is going from innocence to experience, because you work out, oh, life isn't like how people told me. People told me that if I was a good person, good things would happen. And then in that moment, you kind of realize, oh. And then I think once you get over the first one, it doesn't feel as bad. But for some reason, I found getting over that first person was the worst, because all of the stuff you're taught about virginity and being pure, and then you have sex with someone and then you're no longer pure. It's just this fucked up culture that we live in. It's honestly so fucked up. But the third type of man is the man that you should be looking for, is the man that is completely indifferent to the situation. If you meet the right man, they will not care how many people you slept with, how little or how much experience you have, because they generally like you. And I think we kind of forget sometimes in society that men actually do have feelings. Men, surprisingly, do have feelings. They get hurt, they fall in love, they like women, they're just like us, they just want to be loved, they just want to find their person the same as us. And it's just the gender wars on the internet and that puts us all against each other. I don't think it should matter telling a man, but sadly it does, because we just live in an age where men have preconceived notions about women, and we see a woman that hasn't had a relationship as a negative. She hasn't been chosen, there's something wrong with her. Why couldn't she keep a man? What's wrong with her? When some women just generally don't want to entertain a bullshit man. And it's funny how the direct correlation between the male loneliness epidemic and also the fact that men don't want to take women out on dates anymore. This seems to be a really controversial topic at the moment, is the who pays the bill. And it's the main pushback I get at the moment, is men do not want to pay the bill. They do not want to pay the bill. They wonder why they're single. And they wonder why women are becoming celibate. They wonder why women are becoming girl bosses when the men don't want to take the women out on dates. They'll just shout, what do you bring to the table? They've obviously copied that from certain podcasts of what do you bring to the table? Be useful. What does a woman bring to the table? Well, equally, what do you bring to the table? It works both ways. I would treat it in the exact same way as how people treat like sex and telling someone that you're a virgin. I would not even bring it up until the man asks you. And obviously, the more dates you go on, the more likely he is going to ask you. I still think it's better to go on a few dates and waste your time and then tell a man. You don't want to be this person up front just telling a man, because in my experience, it hasn't worked for me. Vulnerability and being honest with a man has not worked for me up front. I found that the later I've told someone, the better it's been. I find if you tell men straight away, they're like, no, red flag, red flag. And there you have to accept there will always be people that see you as a red flag. And to be honest, you're better off without them. If someone can just literally take 2 pieces of TikTok advice and thinks that you're a red flag without even taking you out on dates and getting to know you, if they make a snap judgment like that, well, you're better off without them. You're better off without a judgmental, mean person. These are the same people that take a woman out on a date, and if she says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't feel a spark, these are the type of men that ask the money back. This is also why women aren't dating. I've seen a lot more of this on social media, of men asking for the money back. They're saying, please can you Apple Pay me the money? Please can you send me the money to my bank account? You didn't want to go out with me. This is not how dating works. Dating is not a transactional endeavor of, I take a woman on a date, therefore I am entitled to sex. I take a woman out on a date, she doesn't want to see me, therefore I am entitled to my money back. This is not how dating works. But I think sadly, people are going on too many dates. People are going on way too many dates with people they're not interested in, and the other person isn't interested in them, and they're going out on dates as a social hobby, as something to do. That's why they're going out on dates. And then when there's no spark, the men get pissed. The men get pissed because they feel they've lost money. They've lost money on their investment, and they're asking for the money back. They're asking for the money back on those dates. Well, don't be taking women out on dates if you can't afford it. Don't be taking women out on dates if you expect the woman to pay. Don't be taking women out on dates if you expect her to pay half. Don't expect the money back if she doesn't like you. I think the thing is, people go on too many dates. People are given shit advice. They're told to keep their options open, go on thousands of dates. And if you go on thousands of dates, you're not going to connect with people because you're just treating it like a turnover. You're just treating it as like, sometimes people treat going on dates like trying to buy a car. They want to get the best car that looks the best, that goes the fastest. And it's like, these are human beings. You're rarely going to get someone that's got to 30 without maybe family drama, without some kind of emotional issue, without some kind of financial problem, without some kind of drama. People are human beings and we're not perfect. And sometimes I think when people date me, they're like, oh, she's not this perfect person that I thought. She hasn't had maybe one or two boyfriends and it didn't work out, maybe a 5-year relationship here or there. People just like to put people in boxes of red flag, green flag. She hasn't had a relationship, red flag. Don't want to date her. She isn't this sexually available woman that will just contort herself into 40 different positions just to please me. Oh, she's a human being. Oh, really? And oh, she would like to go on a date. Funny that. She would actually like to go on a date with a man and have dinner and maybe talk and maybe ask him some questions. Oh, this seems too much. This seems too much. This seems too much. Red flag. So in summary, don't tell a man about your relationship history unless he asks you first. And if he asks you, only tell him what you are comfortable in telling him. And if he sees that you haven't had a relationship as a red flag, well, fuck him. Screw him. You're better off without him. You don't want just a judgmental man that puts people in boxes, that doesn't see that people are human beings, that doesn't see that we all come with our different nuances and lived experiences and lives. And we're all different and everyone's past different. And if he's going to be a dick about it, then you're better off without him. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Men can only get you so far in life. Got to make your own happiness, girl. Thanks for watching, everyone. Love you. Bye.